Hello everybody, today we are going to learn how to make a graph of a quadratic equation. There are a few things to understand. First is, number one, if the quadratic equation is ax square plus bx plus c, so a is the coefficient of x square. Now there are three things. Number one is if a is positive number, that is if a is greater than 0, b is if a is less than 0, that is a negative number, and c is if a is 0. If a is greater than 0, then the shape of the graph will be either this or this or this. If a is less than 0, the shape of the graph is inverted, either this or this. If a is 0, we are not going to consider this because by the definition of a quadratic equation, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a is not equal to 0. This number cannot be 0. The moment it is 0, it's going to be a linear equation. That is the first thing. For example, if the graph is, if the equation is 2x square plus 3x plus 4 is equal to 0, the shape of the graph is like this. And if the equation is minus 3x square plus 4x plus 6 is equal to 0, the shape of the graph is inverted. So this you have to understand. Just by looking at, you know. So first thing is shape. Number two, now in a quadratic there may be three types of graph. One is this, another one is just touching, and the fourth one is not touching. And for a negative, it's like this or this. Now how to find this? Whether the graph is of first type, second type and third type. For this we are going to use the discriminant. As I told you in earlier topic, discriminant is b square minus 4ac. Now there are three conditions. First is if d is greater than 0. If d is greater than 0, then the graph will cross x-axis at 2 points. Second condition is if d is equal to 0, then graph will just touch x-axis at 1 point. And third is if d is less than 0, so there is no solution, the graph will not touch x-axis. These are the graph for when a is greater than 0, and where a is less than 0, the graph will be like this, So that is the shape of the graph. Now the third thing, crossing axis. Whether the graph is crossing x-axis or the graph is crossing y-axis. It's either this or this. So to know where the graph is crossing and to know this point, you know this is the x-axis. So here y0, this is y-axis, here x is 0. So we put x is equal to 0 to know where it is crossing y-axis, and we put y is equal to 0 to know where it is crossing x-axis. Because this is a quadratic, so for the x you will get two values. If you get one values, you repeat the value. That is the third point. So you can see that if the graph is like this, so it is having two different roots. One is this and one is this, and these roots are real. If graph is touching at one place where d is equal to 0, we call it not one, but we call it two equal roots. And here we say, because it's not crossing x-axis, so no roots. Now let's take an example to clear this concept. So the question is, draw the graph of y is equal to x square plus 6x plus 5. So now here, first thing, we decide on the shape. That is, a is equal to 1, which means a is greater than 0. So the shape of graph is, we need not to draw the line, we just say, so the shape of the graph will be u, because this is positive. Number 2, we have to find d. d is equal to b square minus 4ac. So that is equal to b is 6 square minus 4, a is 1 and c is 5. So that is 36 minus 20, that is 16. So it is greater than 0. So the graph will cross, if it is greater than, the graph will cross x-axis at 2 points. Third, let's put, our equation is y is equal to x square plus 6x plus 5. What we are going to do, we put x is equal to 0. So y will be 0 plus 6 multiply x is 0 plus 5. So our coordinate is x is 0 and y is 5. It means the graph is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The graph will pass through this point 0, 5 on y-axis. Now if y is equal to 0, then x square plus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. If we factorize it, so x square plus 5x plus x plus 5 is equal to 0. X common x plus 5 plus 1 common x plus 5. We are factorizing this equation by factor method, so we have x plus 1 and x plus 5 is equal to 0. So it gives x is equal to minus 1 and x is equal to minus 5. So x is minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these are the points where the graph is passing. So our coordinates are minus 1 and 0 and minus 5 and 0. So our graph will be, this will be the shape of our graph. So this is that is how we draw the graph using discriminant and putting x and y and knowing what is a. So to know the graph, few things which we have to remember is that is whether a is greater than 0, less than 0. Second is how the discriminant is, whether it is greater than 0, equal to 0 or less than 0. So it will decide whether it is intersecting at two places, at one place, at where, and then the coordinate of those points. So that's how we are going to get this graph.